Hi everyone, this is Heidi Vanderswa. I am talking to you from Glasgow, Scotland, where I am currently living with my husband, Matty, who is also a Credo alum. And I had wanted to talk a little bit about an orchestra that I am a member of for the last 2 years that was a direct result of the service projects and ethos of Credo. Um, and as I've gone through my career and through my undergraduate and postgraduate degrees, I've continued to really search for ways that I can use music as a way to serve and engage with the communities around me, both in performance and in an education setting. And I was particularly interested in how to combine the idea of high level music performance with education and community engagement, because I'd noticed that there are times where there seems to be a split between music education and the level of performance, and that they don't always go hand in hand, or at least that there's a perception that they aren't linked necessarily. So just actually about 2 years ago, almost exactly, I had joined this new ensemble called the Nevis Ensemble. I didn't know anything about it other than I had auditioned back in April for an ensemble that had the vision of music for everyone, everywhere, and that they were going to do an inaugural tour of 70 concerts in 14 days, which I thought must have been a mistake because that's not possible. But I applied anyways, and I did an audition. I was asked to join the ensemble as principal cellist for their first tour in July and August of 2018. And we started off with a set of rehearsals up in this beautiful lochside town in Scotland called Gairlochhead. And 40 musicians from all over Scotland and actually all over the world who were currently living in Scotland came together. It was a chamber orchestra, so full string section and a single brass double winds, so a typical chamber orchestra setup, plus a bass guitar and drum set. And none of us knew what we were getting into, but everyone had this same desire to find a new way of bringing music to people. And so we rehearsed, and it soon became very clear that it was a different type of orchestra than anything I had been a part of before. For starters, our set list of pieces was 25 pieces from all different genres: classical, pop, jazz, as well as a newly commissioned piece. And so you can imagine how packed 2.5 days of rehearsal were in order to try to get all of this music together with musicians who, on the whole, had never met or played with each other before. But at the end of those 3 days, we did our first concert, and it was a very different experience than most of us in the classical world will ever have had. The orchestra performs standing up, the only exception to that being the cellists, who have little stools that we sit down on. And the way a concert works is we drive to a location in a coach bus, and the manager and the conductors get off the bus and they go in and speak to whoever is organizing the concerts. They're all free, and the venues really are as varied as you can imagine. So we've played in prisons, we've played on hillsides, we've played in primary schools, swimming pools, on a beach, on a runway, just anything you can imagine. That is where this orchestra goes. So you drive up, and the orchestra is told to wait on the bus, and then at some point we get the okay that everything is sorted inside, and everyone gets off the bus and grabs their instrument and a piece of equipment and their music stand, and you go in and set up. And ideally, if we're doing it correctly, in about 5 to 10 minutes, an orchestra has appeared in whatever space we're in front of the audience. The audience often is already there, or there's no audience, and the idea is to draw them in with our performance. And so this has really allowed us to go to places that no other orchestra would imagine going to, because you've removed the barrier of needing chairs and stands and someone to set it up. And because everything's free, you don't need tickets or ushers or anything like that. And so instead you just have this ensemble appear and play a concert, a live orchestra concert. And that was a very different experience for me, because most of the engagement work that I had done previously was with chamber groups, and that was really my love in music, was playing in chamber groups, and it still is, but it was a different feeling to be a part of an orchestra and to see the faces of the people as you set up in whatever space it is, something that they've not had access to before, because orchestras are usually in a concert hall or maybe an outside concert hall, but not in a homeless shelter at 7 in the morning or in a prison. That's not where an orchestra is. So there are a couple other things that I think are particularly interesting and provide opportunities outside of just this ensemble that I play with for any of you who are trying to figure out how to bring your music to the communities around you. So one of the big differences is that for every concert that we do, and we normally do anywhere from 4 to 9 concerts in a day, mostly 6 or 7. So it's very packed. You're getting to a lot of different venues. So the programming for each concert is done by the musicians within the ensemble. So you're given information about the venue that you're going to, who you're playing for, and just a little bit of information. And based on that, the musicians curate a program out of the pieces that we've rehearsed. So if you're playing for a primary school, we might try to start out with something a little bit more upbeat that they can stand up and clap along to, before moving into a classical piece that maybe they wouldn't have heard before. Or if we're out on a street, we'll definitely start with something loud and exciting so that people walking by are enticed to stop and listen. And so this means that every concert is different, but it also means that we have the opportunity to share a large variety of music. It's not just classical music or just pop music. And within the concert, someone from the orchestra talks about the pieces so that you're engaging with the audience. So you'll, whether that's sort of some music history or maybe a personal story, some way in which the audience can feel a part of the ensemble. We also encourage the audience to take out their phones and to post pictures on social media and to tell their friends. And that's how the ensemble gets people to come see us, is there's almost no marketing, which is kind of a strange setup for an orchestral ensemble, is that we don't market ourselves or pay to be marketed. We rely on word of mouth. And so often we'll have someone come to a concert because a friend texted them earlier in the day, having seen us, and said, oh, by the way, they're going to show up in your town in about 4 hours. The timing's never quite exact because you're doing 6 concerts and you're driving between places. But I think in terms of how this has been related back to the mission of Credo from when I was there, which really was the starting point, playing in the Nevis Ensemble has allowed me to combine that mixture of high-level music. We really do strive to play all of our repertoire to a high level, with engaging with a community and education, and not just being a performance on the stage, but afterwards staying around and having a cup of tea or coffee and talking to people. And that's been so important for me, to be able to engage with my audience and experience that. And every single concert is unique, and it's a way that we have managed to reach such a huge group of people that I would never have been able to on my own. The ensemble has now been around for just under 2 years, and we've done 170 concerts. The last thing that I'll say, because I'm running out of time, and I could talk about this really for huge amounts of time, is that every single member of the orchestra is there by choice. We're not paid. And so that completely changes the environment, because you're not doing this for the money. You're not doing this for any purpose other than that you believe that music and live music is something that everyone deserves the chance to access. And the hope of the ensemble is that members from the orchestra will take the knowledge that they've gained from playing in the ensemble and apply that to wherever they're working, whether that's in a professional orchestra or teaching, and that we would take that vision beyond the walls of the ensemble. And I think that's very much in line with Credo and responding and acknowledging the gift that we've been given. And it has been an incredible experience for me, and an opportunity to share the gift that I've been given. And I hope that hearing about it a little bit maybe inspires some of you to look at ways that you can take your music into different communities, and the ways that you can have diverse repertoire and concert programming, and just share the gift that you have.